The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Napick and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Napick.
Welcome to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm John Bramblett, a licensed insurance advisor and director of strategic initiatives and partner relations for Stewart Insurance. And along with our producer, Will, we are pinch hitting for our host, Bill Napick, today. So welcome to Real Estate Matters. We have an exceptional show this week. We have a couple that does real estate right, and we're looking forward to visiting with them. An interview discussion on mortgage options and some new unique mortgage plan options for our listeners to consider. We have a new resource to access real estate information in Houston that we're going to discuss with the creator of that tool. And we have a surprise guest today, and one that our regular listeners will very much enjoy hearing from. So with that, we're going to begin with our first guests. We've got Becky Davis and Mark Standridge with BioCity Life Group Compass. Welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you very much. We're delighted to be here.
We really do appreciate you joining us today. Let's kind of give our audience a bit of a background first. If you wouldn't mind, share the path that led you all to real estate, to create BioCity Life Group and join the Compass team.
So both Becky and I have had successful careers in fields outside of real estate. Before, I spent several years as a geologist and then 25 years in medical sales. And then together we published BioCity Magazine, which is where you and I originally met.
Absolutely.
And then Becky, I'll let you tell your background.
I too have had 4 or 5 careers, and real estate, we're planning on this to be our last career. And just sorry we didn't find it sooner. But what led us into being BioCity Life was taking from the experiences we had with the magazine, where we were doing lifestyle, and we learned so much about the cities. Where do you eat? Where do you shop? Where do you go to see things? What do you do? And so tying lifestyle into real estate is where we came up with the idea of BioCity Life, the BioCity Life group at Compass.
So what was it that brought you to Compass to get you part of that team?
Well, Compass, as you know, is a young real estate firm, only been in existence for, I think, 7 years. And already it's like the number 3 brokerage in the company. And a couple of years ago, we heard that Compass was opening a office here in Houston and that they were assembling some of the best talent in real estate. And the way they put it to me was, if you had a chance to be a part of the New York Yankees in the late 90s, why would you not join that team? And so I think that Compass was just offering a lot to us and to our clients.
So the fact that you're going to get to play with Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter was pretty impressive.
Exactly.
Fair enough. So how have you been able to take the lifestyle perspective that you had with the magazine and turn it into real estate as a benefit to your clients?
Well, it's an interesting question. Clients, when they're looking for a home, are looking for a whole lot more than just a roof over their head. It's way more than just how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms do you need. So much of it comes into lifestyle. And sometimes the questions I ask my clients are, where do you live in the home? Some people live in their family room, sitting on the couch, being a couch potato, watching television. Other people are laying in bed on their iPad or watching the TV on the wall. Or other people have kids, and so it all revolves around family life in the game room that they may have set up. So what's important to each of the clients in how they live their life? What is their perspective, and what's their top thing that they're looking for? Some people want a walkable community where they have access to hike and bike trails or to playgrounds and parks. Other people are interested in the food scene in the area, or how close are they to performing arts venues. Or other people, hey, I need to have close proximity to work downtown or to the medical center. So we ask lots of questions from our clients about, when we're representing buyers, about where you want to live. And when we're representing sellers, we're talking with them about the things that they have loved most about their current home, because that will also apply to people who are buying and the experiences that they will now have in that property. So we've been able to take a lot of the background from Bayou City Life magazine in terms of exploring the community and the lifestyle, and then applying that for buyers and sellers in their new locations.
So it sounds like this idea of questions are more important than answers is a philosophy that you both work by. Where did that philosophy come from about really taking the time and asking these really detailed questions?
Well, it's part of the training, obviously, but we find that if we ask more questions, we're liable to get to a right answer and to a conclusion faster. We want to know from the sellers, not just you want to sell your house, but where are you going? What is your motivation? And that also helps us plan then how quickly we need the house to sell. Do you need to have the house longer? Do you need to do a lease back? So asking the questions to find out where they are at that particular point in time helps us get to the right answer.
Well, no, it's just that those really seem to be, simple yet really impactful questions. Where do you spend your time? What part of the house do you live in? So that people, have a true feeling, or you have a true feeling for what that experience needs to be like when either they're in their next home or, as you said, trying to help them pick up on the keys that would help solve their current home, sell their current home.
Yeah, I think as a real estate agent, we are always trying to help people find solutions to pain points in their life. And the pain point may be, because of the pandemic, I never realized I needed a home office before, but now I really realize how important that is. I've got 2 small kids, and the 3-year-old became the inadvertent director of shredding because I didn't have a dedicated home office where I could have my work product and my paper spread out. So I need that. Or we need to have more space for the kids to run around. We need a yard. And it's only by asking these questions and listening closely to people do we find out what their real needs are. The more we can find out from people about what's important to them, the better able we are to help them find the home that's going to be perfect for their next adventure in life.
So on the website, you have this great line that talks about love where you live. So what was the genesis of that line, and how does that drive your philosophy?
When I'm working with buyers and we're looking at houses, one of the things I'm looking at as they walk in the door, I want to see their reaction and how the space feels. But my rule for them is, if they can't just love the house, they need to be able to give me 3 loves. I love, love, love this house. And if they can't do that, that's probably not their home, and we won't make it all the way to the closing table. So that's kind of where love where you live came from, originated.
So I got to have 3 loves, or we're going to go look at something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, look, this is not going to be my house. This is not my money. This is not my house. I'm not going to live here. And I don't care how long it takes us to find the right house for you. If we look for 6 weeks, great. If we look for 6 months, that's fine too. If it takes 2 years, that's not a problem, because this isn't where I'm going to live. It's all about you. This is your house and where you're going to live. And so we put the focus on our clients, not on us.
We're visiting with Becky Davis and Mark Standridge of Bayou City Life Group Compass on Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. What are some of the tools that you have and you utilize to help make that experience for your clients, or maybe even your prospective clients, as they're trying to decide who the real estate agent is that they want to work with? What are some of the tools that you have available that kind of eases that transition?
The tools, there are lots of different tools that are available. I mean, everybody talks about your contact management system or your emails or all of this sort of stuff. But I think one of the things that distinguishes Compass from a lot of other companies out there is our ability to help sellers do the updates that they need on their homes prior to putting it on the market so the property sells for a higher price in a shorter amount of time. And Compass has a program called Compass Concierge where we can front money for updates, repairs, and it could be anything. It could be staging, landscaping, painting, bathroom, kitchen renovations, whatever. And the company doesn't charge fees or interest on this. And by doing these projects, it helps present the property in its very best light. And so it's more attractive to buyers. And the sellers are able to sell more quickly, so they get their money and are able to move on to their next project more quickly as well.
So is there a part of Houston where you all focus? Is there a niche that you try to fill with your firm?
Absolutely. And I'm going to brag on Becky for a second. We do primarily most of our work in the Heights and close-in neighborhoods. And Becky does a blog every week called Becky's Best Bungalow Bets. You know, there's no alliteration there in the title whatsoever. But in that, she reviews 5 to 7 new listings that have come on the market that week. So go ahead and tell us more about it, Becky.
Right. So I do this blog once a week, and I'm featuring not just bungalows, but different price points, different home styles, and different neighborhoods within the Heights. Because the Heights is a great eclectic mass. It's one of the toughest areas in the city to do real estate because you can have a $400,000 bungalow sitting next to a $2 million home. And so it's a very different market. And so by doing the blog, I stay up to date on what's happening in the neighborhood, and so I can give my clients true expertise for the Heights.
Yeah, in fact, over the past 5 years or so, I believe she's now reviewed over 1,200 different homes in the Heights. And so this is quite an in-depth look at multiple properties throughout the community. Also, another complicating factor for the Heights is the presence of the historic districts. And are you in the historic district? Are you out of the historic district? Where are the boundaries? And then what can you do for a property that's inside, or what can you do for a property that's outside of a historic district? And that just adds more complicating factors. And then factor in on top of that flood zones, and you've ended up with a very complex, challenging neighborhood sometimes. And that's true for many of the close-in neighborhoods.
So the fact that you've reviewed 1,200 plus homes in the Heights, how does that perspective help you and you're working with buyers or sellers about what realistically to expect?
Well, I think by looking at that many different homes, we have a good idea of what are the updates going to be, what type of materials are being used, how extensive are the remodels or the updates, or in areas that are not in the historic districts where homes can be moved off or torn down and new construction goes in, we have a great feel for what consumers and what buyers will find in different parts of close-in neighborhoods, not just the Heights, but also Montrose, some in the Westview, the Bel Air areas as well. By looking at all these properties, have a good idea of what to expect as we go through. So when people say, well, gee, if I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, what am I going to find? And we can describe those. We can tell them a good example of what the floor plan layouts are going to be. With new construction, we can give them an idea of the quality of the materials and the workmanship that they can find with different builders. And it just really helps provide that much more information and education for our clients. One of the other things that we do is when we're working with sellers and they find a property that we like or that they like, we will commonly go out and run floodplain quotes for them to find out what their potential flood insurance premiums are going to be before we ever start getting into negotiations. Because as you know, in Houston, flooding can be an issue. So we want to make people very aware of that.
We're visiting with Becky Davis and Mark Standridge with the BioCity Life Group. Mark, if one of our listeners would like to get a hold of you or Becky, what's the best way for them to do so?
Surely. They can reach us via cell phone at any time. Okay, they can reach me at 832-998-4838. And Becky?
832-628-8221.
They could also go to our website at www.bayoucitylife.com and then reach us through the website or via email at mark.standridge@compass.com, and then Becky at
Becky.Davis@compass.com.
Well, Mark and Becky, thank you so much for being our guests on Real Estate Matters. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been a real pleasure.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827. StewartInsurance.com. That's StewartInsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.
Our next guest on Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title is Lisa Carvalho with Change Mortgage. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
We are so glad that you're here. Lisa and I had the good fortune of meeting at a Houston Black Real Estate Association event during Realist Week, and we shared a table and shared a meal and had a wonderful conversation, and I knew right away that Lisa would be a fantastic guest for our listeners on Real Estate Matters. So to kind of kick things off, if you wouldn't mind, Change Mortgage is such a great name. Share with us why you selected to partner with Change Mortgage.
Well, I've been doing lending for about 25 years, and when I came across Change Home Mortgage, I was really interested in the fact that they have a specific offering. Most of all of their portfolio products are sponsored from beginning to end, straight in-house, and they actually have a very significant differential in that they are a Cdfi, which stands for a Community Development Financial Institution.
So what is a Cdfi for those of us that are not in the mortgage world?
Well, a Cdfi, we started with this designation back in May of 2018. And what a Cdfi is it helps promote access to capital and local economic growth in low and developing communities across the nation. So the designation allows us to successfully pursue our purpose, providing equal access to the American dream for all communities, and no matter their socioeconomic standing.
So it works with individuals that maybe have, for whatever reason, by job or type of career or past happenstances, if you're having trouble getting traditional types of a loan or mortgage, that this community development financial institution working through you and your team can enable me to move towards home ownership?
Absolutely. We definitely have a purpose, and we are dedicated to banking the underserved communities. So what we do is we eliminate the wealth gap by bringing social and racial equity to financial services. So we basically level the playing field for diverse homeowners and small business owners by empowering Americans to pursue their dreams and provide fair and equal access to financial tools.
What are some of the ways that you can, if I'm in a situation where maybe I can't go the traditional route, what are some of the ways that you can help me get to that goal of having my first home or having a home, home purchased?
So let me start by telling you that a majority of the loans that we provide are serving the Black and Latino communities, as well as we lend to the low to moderate income borrowers, and persistently in the poverty areas as well, including first-time home buyers. So one of the ways we do that is with our portfolio programs. Our portfolio programs often allow individuals the opportunity to qualify outside of the traditional mortgage market through unique programs developed right here with our own organization with significant enhanced eligibility. So it's a little bit difficult to explain, but basically what we do is we provide the homeowner who happens to be, say, an entrepreneur the ability to qualify when traditional markets they may not be able to.
So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm big in the gig economy. So I may have 4 companies. So financially, on paper, I might be able to afford a home, but on the traditional measures of credit and things like that, I may not be able to. And that's where you all tend to be a bit more creative and understanding than maybe the traditional lenders might be.
Correct. So on your traditional market, you'll have individuals who may not be able to get financing if they're self-employed simply because they have tax write-offs or their income is adjusted downward for taxation. And even though they're able to afford a payment, their taxes might impact the way that they're able to qualify. So really what we want is we want them to be able to have equal opportunity, especially during these changes of COVID. When COVID took place, what happened was a lot of individuals who were working for others decided to start their own business. And in doing so, with that change of employment status, they wouldn't necessarily always be eligible going from a W-2 wage earner to a self-employed individual during those, years of the pandemic that we were experiencing when so many people took that leap of faith and started their own businesses. So with these programs that we have for our portfolio lending, we give those individuals an opportunity to qualify, not just with a non-QM, but with programs that meet the needs of what their lifestyles are. For example, we have a no employment program where they're able to actually get financing without having to show any tax returns or state employment on their 1003 or their uniform residential loan application.
The company has recognized that there is a market that was being underserved. And then with the changes in how the economy is and more folks being entrepreneurial and taking on this idea of I'm going to have my own business, that Change Mortgage has recognized that change in the marketplace and has adapted to it.
Absolutely, and that's why we branded ourselves to be Change Home Mortgage. Where I was previously, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of diversity with our organization. And here I see with Change Home Mortgage that we're actually addressing the needs of the community. So not only are we doing the right thing for homeowners, but we're also socially and environmentally impacting many individuals' lives.
We're visiting with Lisa Caravallo with Change Home Mortgage. When we had dinner that night and we were visiting, one of the things that really excited you about Change and you were sharing with me was the makeup of the organization, that it very much fits the makeup of the city. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about how that was also one of the things that really drew you to Change Home Mortgage.
You had asked at the beginning about diversity and such and the reasons why I came over to Change. And I'm so proud to be with an organization where 92% of our community board members are diverse. 80% of all presidents are female with our organization. So we're not only just doing right for the economy, and helping other individuals, we're also leading the way with putting our best foot forward to really bring what we do to an organization on a new footing. Also, 75% of senior leaders are diverse, and 70% of executives are diverse as well.
So you really have a culture within the company that matches the personality and the makeup of the city of Houston.
Yes, I've been doing community lending for a very long time, and to be able to be with an organization that really lives and breathes what we do as far as helping homeowners, it's absolutely amazing.
All right, so I'm a listener, and I've heard these really encouraging words that you've shared with us, and I'm excited that I feel like that I actually have an opportunity now to meet that goal that I had of having my own home. What are some of the things that I need to do to get ready before I come see you and talk to you about a loan?
Well, I think the first step is having a consultation, and I do offer a 15-minute consultation. And I start to inquire about how I would be able to understand what your needs are and help you through the process. Take a look at credit, and your financial ability to repay the loan are always criteria for financing, as well as the amount of earnings that you have, as well as the down payment requirement that you'll be bringing to the table. We're able to help a lot of individuals who necessarily don't fill into the box of community home ownership. And by doing so, we've been able to, since the use of our Cdfi, raise $6.3 billion in lending. We have actually closed $6.3 billion of low to moderate income borrowers and $2 billion in the persistent poverty areas. as well as $3.5 billion for first-time home buyers.
We're visiting with Lisa Caravallo with Change Home Mortgage. So the first step is for me to get a hold of you and come see you, have a conversation on the phone. You're going to tell me the type of information that I'm going to need. You're going to find out my situation, and from that, you're going to guide me down that path.
Absolutely. We'll walk you through every step of the process to make sure that all your needs are met and that you have a very excellent experience here with Change Home Mortgage. And I will be your mortgage advisor. I'll hold your hand through this whole process so that you can be successful and also gain the right for home ownership.
Well, we all need somebody to hold our hand, especially on some transition as big as this. I know that our listeners are going to have an interest and they're going to want to have a conversation with you. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you, Lisa?
Well, just call me. My number is 832-797-1594, 832-797-1594. You can also find me on YouTube or Facebook right under my name, Lisa Castro Carvalho. That's C-A-R-V like Victor, A-L-H-O.
We've been visiting with Lisa Caravallo with Change Home Mortgage. Lisa, thank you so very much for being our guest.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Our next guest is on Real Estate Matters by Stewart Title, is broker-owner of Realty Walk, Ray Walker. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Thanks so much, John. I appreciate it.
We really do appreciate you joining us. We are in our brand new studio here with KPRC 950 AM. You have a really unique tool that you launched recently, Ray, that I would love for you to share with our audience. It's on realtywalk.com, and it's this really cool interactive map. Tell us a bit about that map and all the different wonderful things that it does.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. We've been working on this for several years. The first thing a realtor will do when they're trying to explain the city is roll out a map, and they'll point to super neighborhoods like Conroe area and the Woodlands and the Inner Loop and West Houston, Memorial, and then they'll say, oh, and the general area over here is like the River Oaks area that has all these other oak neighborhoods, or the Galleria area. And then they'll get specific and say, and the boundary lines for the River Oaks area is River Oaks, Afton Oaks, Garden Oaks, Oak Estates, those actual borders. Well, that conversation that I just described is exactly what our maps do. You can see the entire city in the areas and the neighborhoods specifically from level 1, 2, and 3 as you enlarge the maps or make them smaller. And what's fun is as you're looking at them, you can actually see where the borders lie. And you can click, say, ooh, I want to live there or here or there, and actually pick the neighborhoods that you want as they're presented. So it's a little different way of looking for homes, but it's a cool way, and it's very informative, and it's fun to use. So we did this. We even defined neighborhoods whose boundaries are kind of vague and hard to define, like Montrose, Midtown, Heights. We actually drew those borders. We drew thousands of polygons so that we could present it in an easy, understandable way of where our neighborhoods throughout the north, all the way through the central Houston, North Houston, all the way down to Galveston, Baytown, and past the Katy area. It's really a fun, informative way to understand how our boundaries lie.
So whether I'm a Houstonian that have lived here all my life and I know specifically the type of neighborhood that I'd like to be in, or I'm a first-timer that I just moved here, so I'm looking at things from a very macro perspective, these interactive maps on realtywalk.com can afford me some really fantastic education.
Totally. In fact, even the old Houstonians like myself, third generation, it's so kind of neat because right where Tanglewood bumps up against Briar Grove, the border is literally runs along a street. So you can be on Valley Forge on one side and be in Tanglewood, and Valley Forge on the south side and be in Briar Grove. It's really informative that a lot of Houstonians don't even know where their boundaries are. Even Galveston's kind of fun. I've always never known where Lafitte's Cove and Pirates Cove were. They're all in the general Pirates Beach area, but to see where the borders are, it's an education, and it's fun to understand that. So it's kind of neat because it's just laid out for you to see.
So this has been a labor of love for several years. What was it that the problem or the opportunity that you saw that said, I'm going to build this?
Everybody wanted to know where the maps. Everybody loves maps. It's just something we do. But to be able to take Houston, which doesn't have any zoning, and to showcase it the way we did, it's something we needed. It really is. It's a phenomenon that you'll love looking at. And then what we're going to do on top of that, we decided to really focus on not just resales, but also give new construction something that my clients, a lot of them, wanted to buy new homes, and so they wanted to know where the boundaries of certain neighborhoods were that weren't even on the radar yet. So we were drawing neighborhoods of new additions, and also inside the loop and anywhere else, being able to just focus on builder inventory and allow builders to actually input some more of their inventory without using MLS. So what we're doing is we're forming like a builder MLS, and we're calling it Builder Posting Services. This is going to roll out by the end of the year. So BPS, Builder Posting Services, is a new service that we will be rolling out, and we'll be rolling it out on Realty Walk. So we're excited about that next phase that's up and coming.
So if I'm a listener and I really would like to have a tool where I've got an interactive map that can help my either buying or selling process, can I go to realtywalk.com and play with these interactive maps right now?
We are live, and yes, we're patented. The maps are patented, so we're so excited. We're pushing it. We want people to look at it, check it out, and then let me know what they think of it, because whatever we need to tweak, we can definitely tweak it. And so we are literally excited. You can go on it today. We are live. Yes.
So if I wanted to one, ask you a question about it, or two, share with you what my thoughts were, or hey, this is a creative guy, this Ray Walker, I want him to help me buy a home or sell a home, how can they get a hold of you?
You can actually request a showing on site. It definitely allows users to have portfolios, their own personal, like, shopping carts, if you will. Also, they can contact us through the website, or they can just call me directly on my cell phone or email. Either way is fine. And
what's that cell phone number, Ray?
My number is 281-687-8429, and my email address is very easy. It's walker@realtywalk.com.
And the website is realtywalk.com.
That's correct.
Ray, we really do appreciate you making the time to be with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be able to tell people about it. And again, that BPS, when it rolls out, is going to be fun, because they can use the interactive maps and see where builders are building in those certain polygons or neighborhoods just by clicking a button. It all comes to the data is simple. It's what people want. So I'm happy to build it.
Well, thank you, Ray, for joining our listeners on Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. Our next guest on Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title is a very special guest, and one that all of our regular listeners have come to know and love. And today we're going to do a little curveball on everybody, that I get to interview my friend and the host of Real Estate Matters, Bill Napick. So, Bill, welcome to Real Estate Matters as our guest.
This is interesting to be on this side of the microphone. It's exciting to be here. So I'm feeling, I think, hopefully what everyone else has felt since we began this 427 shows ago. It's exciting.
Well, I was going to ask you this. So this is show 427.
428, actually.
428. So this is show 428, and we're in the new iHeartMedia KPRC studios in Houston, Texas. What do you think?
So far, it's very exciting. It's going to be fantastic, and maybe just it'll bring another layer of excitement to the show, because one of the things I've been talking about lately, especially among our associates at Stuart Title and Stuart Insurance, is that this isn't just an experience for the time of broadcast. I think one of the things we started out giving people a platform in the real estate world and those things related to home and real estate, that, hey, you could be on the air right here in the fourth largest city, and for the last couple of years on KPRC, which is gigantic and a massive platform. But we do so many other things that for the guest that's part of the experience, such as being in a brand new studio now. That's going to be great. And then the things we do for uploading videos and things like that. So I think as 2022 is moving along, this is a great improvement, in my opinion.
It really is. And all the technology is all state of the art. It's also a bit fun because in the old studio, while the experience was fantastic, it was just you and the guest. And now in the new studio, we've got our producer, Will, with us. So our guests can, in a sense, see how a radio show is made and produced, and it really will, I think, enhance the experience.
Exactly. Once again, there's that experience. And for those, all of us at some point in time, and I think when you go back further in history, that was one of the first things, the first entertainment device was the radio. So everyone knows the radio. Everyone has not been on the radio, so still there's that thrill for those that have, it's their first time to be on the show. But the other thing that our listeners, I think, get, maybe they realize it, maybe they don't, is they're hearing people that they're not anchor people or have their own shows. They're hearing people that it's maybe their first time in some cases. So they're hearing something brand new, and it's very exciting, I think, to hear that honesty and and everyone handles it differently. So I think we're offering a lot, or at least we're trying to, and we're not done yet.
Not at all. And I don't know about you, but I haven't been part of all 428 like you have, but I've been a part of enough to know that I still get nervous before each show, whether I'm just doing my short little segment most weeks, or when I have the opportunity to pitch it for you, I still get nervous, and I know that our guests do. But it's a great experience once you sit down and you start having the conversation, and then it really just becomes a conversation.
Exactly. As far as being nervous, I've heard that going back to the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson would still get nervous, and you hear about some entertainers, TV and in radio, they still get that excitement, and that is part of the fuel, I think, and even sports figures that are getting ready to do something that's very important. I think that's part of the excitement of it and what keeps us all going. And it's that it raises the level for us as a personal development tool as well in the world of conversation, because conversation is part of our everyday life on the radio or not. It gives us an opportunity to improve our communication as well.
Well, and that was one of the things that was really interesting about our earlier guests, Becky and Mark, is that they really have, I feel like, honed that skill of asking good questions. And as somebody that's hosted the vast majority of Real Estate Matters radio show, you understand the importance of being able to ask a good question so that our guests can deliver the message that they have in the best way possible.
It's interesting, John. I'm stepping right outside of this scene in a weird way, looking at you. You have the headphones on. I have them on. And I guess I'm kind of thinking back when I was younger. I'm like, and I'm saying this to myself right now, hey, I'm on the radio, and not in Little Rock, Arkansas. Nothing wrong with Little Rock, Arkansas, but we are in the fourth largest city where I think we're very privileged to have this platform and to lend it to people in this massive city as people are driving around. You don't know who's listening. They're listening on the internet, but in the cars. But I think it's a very important platform that does a lot of things. And certainly the information, like we say at the beginning, inform, entertain, and inspire, it's there. But it's also, I think, one of the genesis of talk radio in the very beginning was to keep people company. People want to listen to a conversation that takes place. It keeps them company when they're driving. Maybe they're at home. And it also is sort of a theater, too. I guess back when radio started, it was actual theater. So I think we do that every week, and it's a blank canvas every week. That's why I never know what's going to happen, and that's why it's exciting to me.
We're visiting with Bill Napick, the host of Real Estate Matters, and we're visiting with Bill on Real Estate Matters. Bill was kind enough to let me jump in and host this week. So let's get to know Bill a little bit for our listeners that haven't had an opportunity to meet you or be on the show. So I know that you have a huge passion for radio. And I'm just curious, what was the genesis of that love for this medium?
I think at the very beginning, I can remember some of the first listening to radio was for music purposes. I remember the Beatles when they were on, and I could remember where I was in the car taking my mom to work. My dad was driving, and I was the little guy in the back seat listening to the Beatles songs. But then after that, and this is in a little town called Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, across the river from the capital, Harrisburg. But I also remember in those days, in Pennsylvania, hearing some talk personalities. There was a guy named Lucky Pierre that comes in. I'm going way, way, way back. And then here in Houston, Texas, even going back to the days of Alvin Van Black and many others, I just started liking talk radio. And through the years, for 30 years of my life, I was with several companies, and most of what I did was travel from one place to another to call on customers, to build a business, to develop business. And many of my trips, I'd fly somewhere, get the rental car, and then drive another 2 hours. And during those drives, well, I'd look on the dial of the rental car, and those talk radio shows, and I could mention many, but they all kept me going and kept me entertained and also spurred my imagination along the way. And I always said, I want to be able to do this someday. And here I am. I got to get to do this, and I'm very grateful for that. As far as another influence on me as far as doing what I do now is I also remembered watching Larry King on CNN. When he had the Larry King show, I thought, this guy's got the best job. Of course, Johnny Carson had a good job too. But Larry King, he gets to talk to all these people with the newest books, with the latest thing going on, and he'd sit there every night, and I'm thinking, I'd love to do that.
So you got a love for radio as a young boy, listening to the Beatles, and then when you were out doing sales and you were from market to market, and your companion was the talk show radio. So, and you decided that at some point you wanted to make this happen, and you found a way to make it happen with Stuart Title. So how did you take that idea that I want to have a radio show someday and turn it into Real Estate Matters?
The quick story is I was inspired. I was a guest just by chance on a show called The Price of Business. And someone said, hey, do you want to be on a radio show? I'm like, you don't have to ask me twice. Years ago, and I got to talk on this show, and the guest host was Chris Kelso, and Chris interviewed me. I never knew him before, and for about 5 minutes, and I'm like, man, I want to do this all the time. Long story short, he had another show, or he was guest hosting, but then he has his own show called The Real Estate Rat Pack. I was a sponsor on that show where I got to talk 8 minutes a month, and that's not enough. And then when I got the position, Stuart Title, Business Development Officer, one of the first things I did that September, that Labor Day, a couple of weeks after working there, coming on 9 years now, I said to the sales manager, I said, why don't we have a radio show? And she said, this was Betty Warren. She said, well, how much would it cost? Give me the first 10 shows. And guess what? That was September. Well, that was probably October. But there I was in December at the Costco buying gifts for realtors. I think we were allowed to do that at the time. I don't know. She calls and says, look, we're going to do the show. And then that January began episode 1 of Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. And along the way, as we developed the plan, here comes Stuart Insurance, Tom Carpentier. And it has been a very unique initiative. I believe a profitable one for both companies in so many ways, not just dollar-wise. And I guess be careful what you ask for, but if sales tip to anybody, ask.
Absolutely, yes.
Because if you don't ask, it's not going to happen. But it's really been a tremendous thing.
Well, but the other thing that, and we both know and love Betty very much, and but the thing that was great about with Betty was that she said, in a sense, she asked you to prove concept.
Yeah.
And you were able to come back and say, this is where it's going to be. This is what the investment's going to be. This is what I think the return is going to be. But also, this is the first 10 shows.
That's right. And one right on that list, she goes, give me what are the first 10 shows? I said, okay, Sugarland, how sweet it is. Inside the Loop, Outside the Loop, High-Rise Living, and that sort of thing. And she later tells me, and this was just really about 3-4 months ago, she tells me that she went in to give the pitch to the higher-up management at the time, and they sat back and listened. And then they confided in her like later and said, we're going to do it anyways.
So they made sure that she gave the pitch that she had written.
They made her go through that, and here we are.
So I know that you've loved all of our guests.
Indeed.
And they've all been great. But maybe share some nuggets with us of unique experiences or unique situations that have happened for the 428 shows that we've done.
That's hard to do, but I would say this: the best guest is the person that wants, or the person or couple or whatever that's excited to be there. They usually are the best, no matter if they have experience or not. But I can't not mention Robert Duvall, the actor. Think about this. Here we are. We had Robert Duvall, and Mr. Duvall gave me 48 minutes on the telephone, and we split his segment into 2 different shows. But imagine 48 minutes. And why did he do that? Just because his very close friend, Danny Davis, said, hey, this guy Bill, radio show, Real Estate Matters, he wants to talk to you. And Robert's like, okay. And so that was great. And in addition, another famous and interesting guest was Chris Hadfield. Chris was the first Canadian in outer space and the former commander of the International Space Station. He was on our show, and he was in outer space for 161 days on 3 missions, and he even walked in space. So that was incredible. But going back to a realtor, and realtors, we have realtors, mortgage people, all that. Every real estate professional has been on here, even dog trainers. But one of the guests we had, who was a real estate agent, a moderate producer, very nice person, and she was on the show. I'll never forget what she said, because I called her after the show a couple weeks later, and I said, by the way, and I forget her name right now, I said, let's call her Brenda. I said, hey, Brenda, by the way, you did a great job on the show. Thanks for being on the show. And she was so profound. She says, all I did was talk about something I'm supposed to know about. I mean, okay, Mr. Spock, talk about logic. And isn't that what we all should do? But in the world of communication and oration and talking, it's not that easy. Like you said, we get nervous and all those things that happen. So, yeah, so many great experiences.
Well, and it does. If our listeners have an opportunity to be on Real Estate Matters or any type of vehicle like this, it's really worthwhile, because it does, as you always say, it is great personal development, and it helps you hone your message, and it helps you really get to the point of what's important to your clients.
I am always trying to improve when I talk, and hearing myself on the recording helps me do that. But I will tell someone, if there's someone out there, no matter what your field is, there's one thing that you can do. This is a golden nugget in communication. I think if you were to record yourself in just your normal conversation, if you're on the phone, just use your iPhone, listen to how you sound. You'll hear yourself maybe overuse words. You'll hear yourself ahs, ums, you knows. But there's no better tool in my mind is number one, the desire to be a better communicator, and number two, just record yourself and then listen and then hone your skill.
Not all of your shows, not all of Real Estate Matters have been in the studio. Where are some of the places that you've gone remotely?
Well, one of the fun ones was on a boat. We were on the Cypress Boardwalk and with a real estate team, and we were on the pontoon boat. Those of you in the Houston area, and certainly those in Cypress, know the boardwalk, and they had the town lake area, beautiful homes. And it was I think it was an October day. Weather was real nice. I had 2 cameras set up, one at the front of the boat, and then one on the guests as we talked. And that was just so relaxing. It put us in a certain groove to talk to each other. We're on the boat, beautiful day. And that was really a great YouTube video, because that way you also saw the water and the homes, and then you heard the conversation with the guests. That was very unique and super fun.
And I know that there have been award ceremonies for different brokers that we've gone and done the show at, or been at people's offices. Many times you've taken the show on the road. If a client can't come to us, you'll go to them.
Like we did last week.
Yes.
That's always fun.
Yes, it's always fun.
No doubt about that.
So besides the nugget of listening to yourself, that it helps you better the art of communication, are there some other nuggets that have come from our guests that have stuck with you that you incorporate in your business or personal life?
Sometimes I listen, and I do this with movies too. I listen to certain, we'll call it lines that people say, and I may pick up something from someone and I'll try to use it myself later. And I was talking to a realtor one time, and I was referencing the movie Taken. I remember Liam Neeson in Taken, where they steal, and the guy says, hey, we have your daughter or whatever else, and he's like, look, basically, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember, you don't know who you're messing with. I have a certain set of skills, and if you don't tell me, and then it goes on from there. That's a famous little scene. So when I mentioned to this realtor, I said, as a real estate professional, you need to have a certain set of skills. And immediately, this guy was so quick, he says, and I use them every day. I'm like, man, there you go. So I like to pick up on things people say, and then if it's something I can incorporate, I'll use it down the road. But
we had a guest a few weeks ago that I think you probably helped her position herself going forward, that you had mentioned that she was a GPS.
Oh, yeah.
And that she really liked that idea that she truly was, from a real estate perspective, for her clients, both buyers and sellers, a GPS.
Exactly. That was last week also. She says, look, I know where I know where the roads are. I know where I'm going. I know where I can take you, where I should take you, but it's up to you in the end. Now, if you want to go left and I'm saying go right, okay. Yes, that was another good one. No doubt about that. In fact, that's also an example of many times, as you do too, we ask the same questions. It's not like it's magic. Hey, how's the market right now? How do you approach your real estate profession? And we could ask 100 people the same question, and I'm always amazed when I get a different answer or something that's I never thought of or we haven't heard before.
Well, and
It's amazing.
And we've really been fortunate with our guests because they are very thoughtful, and it's not simple answers like, well, we do great customer service, or we're
Conveniently located.
Conveniently located. We're a boutique firm. That our guests truly do have a unique aspect to them, and it's really great. So we're visiting with Bill Napick, the host of Real Estate Matters, and he was kind enough to be our guest today. One last thought, Bill. Many times when you're visiting with our guests, you use the line, leaders are readers. And that a lot of the folks that come through here, you can tell that they study their craft. So from your perspective, is there a book you're reading now that would be of value to our listeners, or are there 2 or 3 books that you've read in the past that you always recommend?
Well, first of all, what I'm reading now is a fictional book, and I'm cheating because I'm listening to it. It's an Audible book, but it's a great book. Run, Rose, Run. It's a collaboration between James Patterson and Dolly Parton. It's a story.
Oh, fantastic.
It's a tremendous story. Now, as far as business books, the book that is a go-to is Winning with People. And John C. Maxwell. In fact, any of John's books are tremendous. And in Winning with People, the beauty of that book, if you haven't read it, get it, I say, because it's simple things that he will say. He'll put it down to principles, and you can identify with it, and then you could use it later. The elevator principle, for one. We have the ability to lift people up or to bring them down. So we could be mindful if we're in an event, if we're with a group of people. Hey, sometimes we have that ability to cheer things up, or if we're just a downer, we could just bring it on down too. But that's a great book, Winning with People, John C. Maxwell.
Well, you've heard it from Bill Napick. You've got your next reading assignment. So, Bill, we really do appreciate you being a guest on Real Estate Matters. We really appreciate the fact that you've been a host for most of our 428 shows. And here's to you and I doing another 428.
And here we are. Let's use this new studio for good, truth, justice, and the American way.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully, Will won't kick us out, and Will let us keep coming back each week.
And thank you, John. You've been one of the best guests every time because you're consistent. You're right there. I never know what you're going to bring forth. That's super fun.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate you being our guest and being the host of 428 shows on Real Estate Matters. You've been listening to Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. I've been your host, John Bramblett, with Stewart Insurance. If you'd like to be properly insured, we would love to visit with you at Stewart Insurance. You can reach us at 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827, or visit us online, stewartinsurance.com. Again, thank you for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. We'll visit with you next week.
When it comes to real estate, everything matters. Whether you're a broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, for informative and entertaining information when it comes to owning, buying, and selling real estate, tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. to Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance.